Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So I'm getting set up right now. But as soon as we get set up, I'm going to be talking about how to apply for permanent residence, your work permit, without the spouse who is mistreating you. So that's an important topic, especially if for right now you are going through a hard time. You're in this situation where you feel trapped, you feel stuck, and you want to get out of that situation so you can proceed in your own life and get permanent residence. This is going to be the way that you're going to do it if you're being mistreated by that US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse. Now, um, today I'm going to focus more on not the what, like what qualifies you. I'm going to focus on the how, right? Because I spend a lot of time talking about who qualifies, what qualifies you. And, to give you a brief summary, if you are being mistreated by a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, so they can also be a green card holder, even if you're out of status, you can apply for relief through VAWA. And mistreatment includes if they are verbally abusive, if they're vindictive, controlling, if they are threatening you, threatening to get you deported, if they are manipulating you. If you, in the position you're in, you feel like you are on the other end of being treated, or you're on the other end of their cruelty, their intentional cruelty against you, then this could possibly be the avenue for you. I would have to talk to you more about your particular situation just because every situation is different. But the starting point is that you should definitely get legal advice and representation through the process where you can take control of the process if you're in this situation. And guess what? Even if you're in the middle of a situation like this where they have applied for your papers already, you can still make that switch. And there's a specific way that I do it. I'm going to talk to you more about that now. So let's talk about the how. After I confirm that my client qualifies and they do take me on as their counsel, we get straight to work. So the first is to create the statement, the declaration. That is going to be essential to this application, just because, especially in cases where it's limited evidence, you always want to have a declaration. There's a special way that is formatted. There are special details that we include in it. I make sure that during my client meetings, we touch on those details. And so we work on that. It's very important to understand that you may not have a lot of evidence, and that's normal for cases like this, because usually an abuser wants to make sure there's no paper trail, or most times. Usually we do find a paper trail, but many times you may feel like it's not much. You may say, like, I don't have evidence they abuse me. All I have is maybe a text message that can be credible evidence. Or you say they financially abuse me, but I have no way to show it. But your bank statement shows maybe that they kept on drawing large amounts of money from your account without permission. Or they had a gambling problem and they used your account to gamble away your money. So the starting point for you should not be, but I don't have anything to show, because here's the beauty of this process is that you can present any credible evidence as long as it's believable. That's what credible means in this case, will be accepted as evidence, including your statement, your declaration, if done in the right detail and without inconsistencies. Now, in the case where you face trauma, you can, there are lapses in memory. you do have problems reliving these experiences again. And sometimes that can pose a challenge, but I work with my clients to get past those challenges and obstacles to create a good application. So once we gather all the evidence, and the evidence is really going to be dependent on what your situation is. That's why when I get to know my clients, I get to know everything they have been through, because then through that information, I can let my client know, well, we'll definitely need that, or that's traceable. Sometimes we can search for the evidence on our own because it maybe it's a part of public record. And so the very important aspect of this type of application is preparation and consistency, to make sure that there's no misunderstandings about the credibility of your evidence or your own credibility when you're submitting this petition. Just because the Immigration Service is accepting any credible evidence. They're not limiting, they're not saying only video or only photograph evidence or only police reports or only medical records. All of that can count towards evidence, but those are not the only evidence. Sometimes people face, extreme cruelty, mistreatment, abuse in secret. Not one person can know or knows about what they went through but them. And so the Immigration Service, they're trained to understand that and then evaluate the evidence that's presented to them. So they look at that evidence. They don't look at other sources. They look at the evidence that you provided. So once we submit that, at this point, spouses of permanent residents, spouses of US citizens can apply for adjustment of status, the work permit, and the travel document at the same time that you're submitting the petition. It's called the I-360 petition. That's going to be the foundation of what is going to qualify you for these benefits. The adjustment of status allows you to get the work permit and the travel document while you wait for a final decision to be made. So that's going to also be a very, very important part of this. And then we also, at that point, we also deal with other complicated issues. So for example, if there are inadmissibility issues, that means maybe they crossed the border without permission and then left the country, or maybe there was a criminal offense. Sometimes a criminal offense is related to the abuse. And if that's the case, they may not even need a waiver. But in that case, when we look at these complex issues and determine whether we will need a waiver, the waiver is just to ask for forgiveness for whatever immigration violations took place in our client's background. So after that, we gather all of this and we file it. Once we file it, then it goes through the process. They usually schedule a biometrics appointment. And then from there, after that, usually the work permit comes and the travel document, and then a final decision for VAWA. At the point that this decision comes for VAWA, that means that you get an approval. It moves to the green card process automatically because we've already filed the adjustment of status application. There are some limited cases where we would not file the adjustment of status at the same time, but most spousal VAWA applications will end up having the adjustment of status right now. So once that's basically the whole process. That's the how of the process. There is a lot of work that goes in, and I think so there is a lot of work that goes in along the way. But in a nutshell, these are the different stages to present an application. Now let's talk about a situation though where you are in the middle of your process with your spouse. Maybe you're going from a 2-year to a 10-year. Maybe you don't have any status and you are now in the middle of the process with your spouse. Can you switch? The answer is absolutely. If you're being mistreated by a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, you can make the switch. There are very specific steps that I have to take as an attorney. Because what we do when we're making the switch, you are applying for a new petition, right? But if you have a pending adjustment of status application, a work permit, and a travel document, that those documents can be preserved to be connected to your the VAWA petition that you're switching to. That means that your process will continue. So they will continue to process you to issue the work permit and the green card and the travel document. Or if you've already been issued the work permit, the travel document, then you will continue to be able to renew while your process is going through. We do have to correspond with the USCIS to coordinate everything, to make sure everything fits together, but it is definitely something that can be done. And you should put yourself first, empower yourself, and take these steps. This is what I help my clients with as well. So if hopefully this is you have seen how to get in touch with me before, but let me go over that. If you go to the link in the profile, you'll see the link with everything you need to get in touch. You'll see a button to schedule your own appointment. You'll see a button to go to the website, and you'll see other goodies as well. So go check out the link in the profile, and it'll give you all the easy ways to get in touch, to schedule an appointment. Because remember, I'm telling you the how, but it doesn't mean that it applies specifically to you, because this is not particular legal advice. That's where we have to talk in a consultation to confirm that this will work for you, and then move forward with the steps that we usually take to get things done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and answer questions. So I see one already. Does fiance fall under VAWA? So unfortunately, the fiance visa does not, because in order to qualify for VAWA, you must be married or in a common law marriage based on the state you're in. If those don't apply, unfortunately, the fiance visa would not work. However, I don't want to say here that you are out of options. There may be options available if you came in as a fiance. So for example, if you came in as a fiance and you found yourself subjected to a controlling person who maybe kept you here to get certain things from you against your will, to make you do certain things against your will, to hold you hostage. Maybe they took your passport, maybe they took your important documentation, they prohibited you from leaving the home, or they told you you had to work in their business based on that you coming in on the fiance visa. That may be that there may be the potential for what's called a T status, where you would be able to get relief. It's not going to be VAWA, but you'd be able to get 4 years work permit, and then the ability to stay here on legal status, to fix your status, and then to eventually have a pathway to permanent residence. So that could be the option for you. So let's see. How long does an employment-based visa take to process on a foreign employee? So it's going to depend on what visa are you applying for. It could take anywhere from 9 months or to 12 months. Or you could be, if you're applying for a green card through an employer, it could be 18 to 24 months. But there are so many visas out there that I would, so many visas, so many embassies with different procedures, different timelines. So there's not an accurate answer. This is just an estimate based on my general experience across the board. All right, so keep those questions coming. That's what I'm here for. So go ahead, put those questions in the comments and I will answer. Okay, I'm just scrolling through to see if any more questions. There are any more questions. Now, just to elaborate, I noticed you said, does the fiance, so not the fiance visa, fall under VAWA? So once again, you have to be married, but as the fiance of an individual who's mistreating you, I'd want to dig a little deeper about what the situation is to determine whether you qualify for other forms of relief. Thanks so much for the love. All right, so I don't see any more questions coming in, so I'm going to call it a day. I will be back tomorrow at the same time, around 4 p.m. Eastern time. So go ahead and you can go ahead and schedule a consultation in the meantime. If you know you have a particular question you want to ask, or you need representation, go ahead and schedule. On YouTube, the link is going to be in the description of the video. So you just go below the video, you'll see everything you need. On Instagram, it's going to be on the profile page. Thanks again for the love. Thanks for your questions. I hope to get more questions tomorrow. I'll bring my topic. You come with your questions and we can jam it out until the end. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.